Alright, so today I promised you that I would create a set of mystical, magical, animal, fun. Yeah. So we're going to attempt to do that. And I am starting with, I apologize, I was just testing something, so I was playing with it. So I'm going to start with Maniology's M128 plate. And it has this lovely unicorn on it, which we are going to reverse stamp. I just don't know how well you can see that. So the cool thing about this Maniology plate is that I can flip it over and you can start to see what I am creating. I will inevitably, I'm sure, speed this up. So the cool thing about this Maniology plate is that I can flip it over and you can start to see what I am creating. I will inevitably, I'm sure, speed this up. And before I put this onto my nail, because I have determined that I'm going to be using this one because this is a pretty big design and I want to get most of it on there, and I also don't want a whole lot of color in the background. I really do want it a little bit softer, but I am going to add some little clouds first. Again, keeping in mind we're not going to see a whole lot of this. This is just going to be our background color here. So a lot of that will be behind the tree, but it'll give us that idea that there's some sky there. So we're going to put this over the top of this, and this is going to require a little bit of lining up because I don't want to end up without my unicorn, because that's the most important part. So I'm going to start by pulling up this fairy right here because this is the one that I want to paint. So again, I'm going to start with my, think about it like a coloring book. I'm going to start with my black outline. So now I can paint her in as Flourish. And I'm going to paint myself too. Again, this is pretty fine work. So you just have to be a little cognizant of the fact that you're working on such a fine little space. Some pink wings because I believe I'm going to use the teal for this particular. It is important to check because you sometimes will think that you've covered everything and then you find out you didn't. And there's nothing worse than finding that out after you put down the stamp. Alright, so we are going to check our color out. So the nice thing is you can check your color against these. which is fun. So I think we are going to go with that. And I may add some little crystals or something at the end. We'll see, to make sure we get a good transfer. And there we go. I think what we will do above that is put some little stars. So we have these great little star pieces here, which are super fast and easy. For the remaining 3 nails, I think we're going to do less of a scene. We're going to add in some other little pieces here. So one of the things that I love is some of these little fairy wings and the crystals and that sort of thing. So just my little crystal. I don't have to be too finicky with it. I am going to let it dry though and go over it with a second coat, so that I get a little more of that iridescent sheen. One of these fairy wings. We need a larger one, so I'm going to go with this one, I think. It's a holographic blue from Maniology, because we're going to be going onto this lighter nail, so I do want a little bit more depth of color in there. And I may also add some of this shimmery purple called Shattered. Alright, we're going to let that dry. While that's drying, we're ready to stamp our crystals on and figure out what else we want for that one. Little crystals on our nail, and I think what I'm going to add to that is there's these cute little pixie fairies. So we don't have a fairy that goes with these lovely wings, so we have to go in and sort of make our own. It's actually pretty easy to do because we just really see the corner of the body, so we don't need to get too crazy with flying away right off of our little nail there. Oh, and I said I was going to repair that little corner I goofed, so I'm going to do that. And then we're going to give her some little white star as well. We're going to do Beautiful Magic, which is this lovely little... Oh! And I let it dry a little too long, so sticky base coat will help us out. There is that. And then the last thing I'm going to do on this one is to put a little bit of sparkle, because I think she deserves a little bit. Alright, we're going to finish up this last nail. I was trying to decide exactly what I wanted to do with this nail, but I think what we're going to do is this moon right here, because I feel like we have a lot going on with some of the other nails, and in order to make it a complete set, I don't really want to overdo it. So, take this off, and that off, because we don't need any of that. I might put some little stars around it, but I think we're also going to make it white because we're putting it on a silver background, silver sheer nail. So I think having the moon itself painted white will give it a little bit more. So one other trick when you're painting these designs is to make sure you go over the edge of the white, just the edge of the black, just a teeny bit. Not a lot, because then you'll end up on the actual nail. But sometimes if you don't get quite close enough to the edge of that black, you will see a little spot where you missed. It didn't fill in all the way. So that can be a pain, because you don't want to go to stamp it and then find out that didn't happen correctly. And we're going to put a little sticky on the back of this guy so we can make sure he sticks. I've not top coated any of these yet, so as you can see a little bit of that sticky base on some of the nails. Overall though, I have to say I'm pretty happy with our little magical forest here. Line this up just in the center. I'm going to press all the way down so that I get a nice clean transfer. And then we'll go back in and grab some of the little stars. So because again we're working on a silver background this time, I think I'm going to take some of that holographic blue and purple and make those little stars in other colors. There we go. I'll put a couple on the bottom, and we're going to call this set done. All right, so now for the fun part. We're going to top coat, top coat, top coat. Move those aside. Don't be messy like me. Okay, going back in with not my sticky base, my smudge-free top coat. Hold on. I've lost my smudge-free top coat. There it is. Okay, so again, I say it all the time, but one of the ones that I love the most is the Maniology smudge-free top coat because I find it easy to float on the nail, which allows me to not smudge my hard work. So by floating, what I mean by that is I'm barely touching the surface of the nail. So I'm not pressing hard to drag down that top coat, but rather just dropping a nice big bead at the back and then floating it forward very gently. And if I don't get far enough, then I go back in, grab a little more,